Obsessed. I'm obsessed with this song, Highway Don't Care. I want y'all to meet the Warren brothers, Brad and Brett, and Josh Kear. Take us back, because I've got about 1,000 questions, but let's start at the start. Somebody lead us off here.
Start.
It was Josh's idea, so he had the title written down. You guys start there.
There were actually 4 of us that day.
And let's give a shout out to Mark Irwin, one of the first songwriters I ever met, one of the best, finest human beings I've ever met.
Amen.
You gotta get on more, Bart.
So Mark, if he was here, he would say. So it was the 4 of us that day. I remember you guys walking in. We were talking ideas. You were talking about. I have a plaque on my wall that says, "Art." The question is not whether our ideas are crazy. The question is, are they crazy enough? And you turned around to me and said something like, "What's the craziest idea you have?" And I had this concept of wanting to turn a highway into like a person in a story, like humanizing it, as like a third party in a love triangle.
Wow.
And I told him the title. You sat down at the piano instantly and started playing the first verse. It was like, sat down, hit the first chord, started singing the first one.
We have made so much money from chopsticks.
Let me interject this. What the song became, and we'll get into that in a minute, there's no other music that would have worked. It would have been too happy or too sad. Dude, I'm just saying.
You know what, it's funny because Josh was still at the Big Yellow Dog building. It was upstairs. Mm-hmm. There was like a little keyboard piano there. We just started playing. I started playing the piano. Everybody started strumming along, and the verses are kind of coming out. We had talked about the idea, and I think when there's always that moment when the song becomes something.
Yeah.
And when we got to the end of the little first verse, it was like, and the song goes. We're kind of sitting there. Josh Kear's genius. I was like, what if the radio, just like a little radio came on? He's like, or if the radio sang this, I can't live without you, I can't live without you. And I remember just being like,
and another
okay, this just became something. It was the simplest, but it was like, there's a song on the radio that's in the song. And I thought, well, this is going to be too crazy, people aren't going to get it.
I started to tell Bart that last night, and he said, wait, keep this for the camera. I'm like, the idea that no one really understands that song, that voice that Taylor Swift was supposed to be the song from the radio playing, it doesn't matter if everyone knows it.
Right.
It's so cool because that's kind of how it happened, and it made sense to us. And sometimes I feel like in country songs, we have to make everything make sense to everybody. And sometimes if it's like, they can tell if you're faking or if you're don't know what it is, but something about that just made the song right. And it's funny because
it made the song. This made the song. Everything made the song. But it's like I Hope You Dance, the song within the song. Oh my God.
Yeah, that was actually came in my brain. There's a Nick Hornby book that I read a long time ago, and it is interlaced with these little snippets of make-believe songs that he wrote choruses of. Never had music to it because it was just necessary for the plot line. So he kept mentioning these songs, but he had to make up the songs, but he wasn't a songwriter. So he was sticking in these pop song choruses that just didn't say anything. Like they were I Can't Live Without You, I Can't Live Without You, baby level of, choruses. It was, I'm gonna love you, I'm gonna love you, I'm gonna love you forever kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So when we hit that day, it was like, okay, if it's a pop song and not a country song, how do we differentiate that? And part of it was just repetitive, simple, which is not what pop songs even do anymore. But
it's going to be somewhere around this moment that the highway's not part of the love triangle. It becomes something different, right? So how does it go from your original intent, or am I wrong about this, to the message it became?
What's interesting is
the texting thing was never part of our writing. The texting when they had the
video.
You know
what's crazy? That's the moment that the National Highway Safety Foundation is doing the Don't Text campaign. I wondered if you guys did that consciously.
Yeah,
no idea.
The video had nothing to do with the song. I mean, in my mind.
Okay.
No.
We even laughed, folks. I don't know if you guys remember, but the song, when we wrote it and handed it in, the title was The Highway. And so Tim says, I'm going to record it. I'm going to cut it. And we're like, okay, awesome, great. He said, but I want to change the name to Highway Don't Care. And we were like, well, that doesn't even make grammatical sense, but you could call it Highway,
Yeah, I'm a
highway, love my mama. We don't care if you're not cutting. We laugh.
Highway and green peas. We don't care.
Yeah, I don't think he asked us. He just sent us the copy. He said, "Highway don't care." I'm like, do they know the title? By the way, we have some BMI awards with the wrong title on them, so people get the titles wrong.
Right.
Occasionally, it's like he just really doesn't know this. So we asked him, and he goes, "Yeah, I'm gonna call this Highway don't care." We're like, okay, man,
Great, sure.
you're the star.
Absolutely.
And by the way, as usual, he was right.
Yeah, Highway Don't Care is way cooler to me now.
Then the highway.
Well, let's be
I
honest.
don't know why.
That song was never, ever, never, it might get cut, gonna be a single. He'd been waiting for a song like that, specifically for Keith Urban and Taylor Swift, right? That's what it was.
You know, I thought, well, it's Tim McGraw. We have a female part that we put on the demo, so if he records the song, it's obviously going to be Faith Hill.
Yeah.
In my head,
Right.
it just
Would
seemed
make
to make sense. And I've since heard her sing it. She sings it great. It was one of those, like, in my brain, never considered until you guys called and said that that's who he was going to use on the song. And then it made perfect sense.
Yeah.
Then it was like, oh, well, of course. Her first single was called
Tim
Tim McGraw.
When doesn't it make sense to have Taylor Swift on your
Well,
song?
of course.
Yeah.
Admittedly, but I just feel like apparently,
Yeah.
you said they'd been talking for years and years about doing something together, and you can't plan for that.
And then when he said Keith Urban was going to play the guitar solo, I said, "Are you getting greedy? Get this thing out. Put Taylor Swift on it. Get this out. We worked really
I
hard."
heard on the radio going by the other day, and we all know what happened in the cool moment of them playing it together on the AC and all that. Keith Urban, to me, made that recording.
Yeah.
Just go one. It wasn't just a guitar solo. It was cool to have his name on it. His actual playing style and just the hook he puts in going in and out of the verses and the way he just rips at the end of the song. It actually, I don't know. It to
It's
me
magical.
kind of it's magical.
Well,
it is.
the guy who played that guitar solo didn't play 9 other songs that day. He played one song.
Yeah.
Like he played that song and that solo. But the session players, unbelievable what they have to do. But sometimes they're playing 8 or 9 songs a day. How much can you put into one thing? Keith just poured it into that song.
Well, and it's tasteful, and again, could any other solo have worked? Keith could have screeched a little bit too much or underplayed it. I mean, and in the video, that little run is almost a character. Let's talk about the video. It's a movie. And I had seen McGraw in some things, and, you know, a lot of country music stars want to act. Occasionally that turns out great. That's the first time I went, oh my God, he is skilled. And there's some twists and turns in it. At first, I wonder if he is the partner of the girl in the wreck.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, there's some twists and turns, and I watched it again last night before this. It still gets me every moment.
pretty
Right?
cool.
What did you think when you saw it?
We have to give Shane Drake props because he's the video director. I didn't know him at the time, but we know him now and spent a little time. He's a great guy and super creative. He wrote that like a little movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, it's a presentation. That was brilliant. The first time I saw it, I was like, oh my God, is this too much? Because I'm always like, just play the song.
And because her on the ground is pretty graphic, a little bit more, too much, a little less, would I have cared, you know?
It was the first one that I didn't let my daughter watch.
Yeah.
It's the first video that came
It's
along that I
still
had
part
of a song of mine. At the time she was little, and I was like, this is too heavy.
And there's quite a few killing songs, so it says a lot.
Admit it.
You let her listen to us.
Yeah.
However, and look, you're all very humble about your songs. That
Not me.
song-
I tell everyone.
That song probably saved some lives. Because it's in this moment where this is becoming a national problem. And I will tell you this for me. I don't like to text anyway, and I almost never do in the car. I don't think I have since I saw that video. It's a gut punch in a important kind of way, right? Have you heard from anybody?
But when
who
we
wants
had
to say
nothing,
that-
that part I kind of feel like we were just fortunate to be even a small part of.
Yeah.
I don't think we
That
can
wasn't
really
enough,
take
yeah.
that.
Have you heard any stories about it impacting someone, or? You know?
No, because it wasn't part of the song, I don't think that gets to us.
Okay.
And luckily, when something doesn't happen, you don't hear about it.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
That's
One other moment in that, and the genius of that director is the broken glass and Taylor and Keith's part showing up in that broken glass on the highway. Man,
There's another piece of genius to that director. he managed to, and that's probably at Tim's prompting, like Tim got to take his shirt off without it being gratuitous, you know? He took his shirt off like he was in a hurry from the side, but he got to, I mean, he works hard. He deserves to take his shirt off, but he did it without being.
When you're 55 and your body looks like that,
Yeah.
you need to have a moment in the video.
I get it. It's great. But it didn't look like, hey, I need to get this shirt off, but I need to look like I'm busy and we're getting to something else. So get ready to go save someone's life. I got to change real quick.
And the whole Vanderbilt thing too, man. It's just, you know, the life flight coming in there. What did I not ask you that you want to say about this song? Because there's so many layers to it. And I think you've answered my question. I went, there's no way that they intended to write that song. And there's no way it's ever going to get cut. There's no way all these artists are going to be in it together. But I've read interviews with Tim. He was waiting for that song to include those two, Taylor and, you know, Keith.
I mean, me and Brad say this a lot, and Mark and the four of us have written a lot of songs, but just props to Josh. Josh is the kind of writer that is always just trying to take it to the next level. And I refer to that sign on his wall and that song. I mean, we were trying, I remember that moment that day just going, let's do something that no one else is doing, or someone would say, well, that's a little odd. I don't know if I understand that, or that doesn't make sense. I remember kind of feeling that. You don't try to take it totally off the reservation, but writing a song that's just different, it does something from a different angle. I mean, the demo Josh did on it when it was the Taylor Swift part, it sounded like an AM radio. I mean, we were thinking that was the song on the radio. That's not how they recorded it, and then the video with texting we had no say in. But it all comes from a place of, the song was just really important. We were trying to do something great that meant something, and it wasn't typical.
Yeah.
Features were not in country music weren't really a thing.
Not that much.
And now, admittedly, it's like every other song, and it's cool and it's interesting. It keeps it fun for everybody. But at the time, it really stood out, and we had every intention of trying to create a moment with it.
Well, you did.
I will say too that we do a lot of writing. We constantly, and there's a lot of songs. And as we write the song, you just don't know. You really just don't know. We write. It's hard to remember. Honestly, 10 years ago we wrote this song.
It's been a while.
Like a long time, almost 10 years. So you don't really remember. But it's funny. I do remember that because there are very few songs. Usually the hits are surprises to me. And Chris Lindsay said to me one time, which is great. He said, "Your best songs won't be your biggest hits, and your biggest hits won't be your best songs."
Wow.
That to me is one of the exceptions. This song. If you're reading this exception to us, I think he's got several exceptions. But the best songs you write aren't typically your biggest hits. But when we did the demo, and Josh sang the girl's part really high, it was my kids.
I didn't sing it on the demo.
I was trying to have a girl come in. You sing on the work tape.
I did.
Yeah. The first one. So I listened to the work tape a lot, and I didn't know when we were writing it, and I don't remember everything about it, but I do remember in the demo, like, this is big. I don't know why, but I think it just happened. It's easy to listen to. There's something about that. It's not a strong.
I've never heard in the history of any genre of music that song. It stands alone. It's its own, and it's important. By the way, when you said that, remember when you wrote it, smartphones were 2. They had just turned 2 years old. So that's why it also took on the whole messaging, National Highway Safety Council and all that. So I just want to thank you for it. It's one of my favorites. I've wanted to dig into this for a long, long time. Highway Don't Care, Brad Warren, our friend Mark Irwin, and the amazing Josh Kear. Story behind the song for the Tennessean and Tennessean.com.